Good afternoon, and congratulations to making it to the last session of the conference. Yay. Now, I know I'm the only thing standing between you and the closing cocktail reception, which is a weighty responsibility. So, without any further ado, let me simply start by saying that you could probably well imagine that as an innovation and technology strategist, I'm frequently asked for forecasts. And whenever I am, I always try to bear in mind the words of that great American philosopher, Yogi Berra, who put it so well when he said, "Making predictions is hard, especially about the future." Nevertheless, I'm going to go out on a limb and make a few predictions today, starting with a prediction that we are going to see more change in the next few years than we have seen in the last century. But it's very difficult to predict the future if you don't understand the past. Another way of saying that is that it's hard to tell where you're trying to go if you don't know where you've come from, and how far, and how fast, and how rapidly change is accelerating. The residential college I lived in at Yale is named for Grace Hopper. Now, how many people here know who Grace Hopper is? Let me see if your hands, if you know who Grace Hopper is or ever heard of Grace Hopper. No? Well, in that case, let me tell you a little bit about Grace Hopper. She was the first female in the history of the United States Navy promoted to admiral. And this was in part because in the mid-1940s, she led the development of the world's first computer, the Mark I. Since transistors wouldn't even be invented for another decade, the Mark I instead had electromechanical relays. Now, electromechanical relays use the flow of electricity to create a magnetic field. This opens the relay, which then springs shut when the electricity stops flowing, and this effect creates the ones and zeros that comprise the computer's logic circuits. So one day while they were testing the Mark I towards the end of its initial development, they continued to get wrong answers from some of their test data. Grace Hopper decided to walk into the computer to examine the hardware for problems, and she found that a large moth had had the bad luck to fly past one of the relays at the precise moment that it snapped shut on the moth's wing, at which point Grace Hopper became the first person ever in history to utter the immortal words, "I've discovered the problem. We have a bug in the system." She removed the moth, and the program worked perfectly, making her also the first person to literally debug a computer. So, and by the way, in case you've ever heard this story before or think it's apocryphal, it's absolutely true. They actually taped the moth into the log of the project. So there's a picture of it. Well, flash forward a half a century. The early internet had been deployed by this time, going back about 30 years now, and was just beginning to be used for commercial applications. Now, around that time, I spoke to a group of manufacturing executives, and I demonstrated a website run by a little startup company called Amazon.com. I ordered a copy of my own book and had it delivered to my office, and then I asked the attendees what they thought, and one of the executives raised his hand and said, "That was a very impressive demonstration, Jack." He said, "But what has this got to do with us? We run manufacturing companies. We don't sell books." Well, fortunately, in the last quarter century since then, manufacturing and distribution executives have become much more attuned to the strategic implications of emerging technologies. The rapid pace of technological innovation has continued to accelerate, and this acceleration is driving many changes critical to the future of business. So, let's take a look at the exciting world of these emerging technologies, and to do so, I'd like to ask you to please join me on a short trip to the near future. This is E-Tech. E-Tech is a renowned manufacturer of electronic controller systems for HVAC applications. Brianna Lawson is the Director of Business Development at eTech. She's responsible for identifying marketing opportunities and driving business growth. She collaborates with AI-driven analytics tools to analyze market data and make informed decisions to drive sales growth. She has been closely monitoring the market with the help of her primary analytic agent, chat marketing. Chat marketing's advanced analytics capabilities enable it to identify emerging trends and opportunities. Through this continuous monitoring, chat marketing discovers that Dream Developments, a property developer, recently received a significant private equity infusion which will fund a substantial increase in their upcoming property development projects from a couple of hundred units a month to several thousand units a month. Recognizing the potential of this new development, Brianna explores a partnership with Dream Developments. This is Daniel Ramirez. He's Vice President of Procurement for Dream Developments, and he oversees all procurement and supplier partnerships. So to initiate discussions, Brianna asks chat marketing to request a video conference with Daniel for a proposal to reduce their costs for top quality HVAC controllers. Chat marketing reaches out to Daniel's administrative agent and successfully arranges a meeting for the next morning. Prior to the meeting, chat marketing prepares a concise slide presentation summarizing the key points for Brianna to present to Daniel, allowing Brianna to review it at her convenience. During the meeting with Daniel, Brianna presents the proposal, including very advantageous pricing. Daniel's familiar with the high quality of eTech's controllers and indicates that if the distribution and logistics can be managed effectively, he'd be happy to utilize eTech as the primary supplier of HVAC controllers at that quoted price. He asks how logistics would be managed, and Brianna explains that his development projects would be supplied by either of two distribution companies who between them have warehouses located near all of Dream Development's projects. Brianna says she'll talk with the distributors and get back with Daniel to confirm the arrangements. The two distributors are East Supply and West Supply. Each is a prominent HVAC distributor specializing in supplying products directly to large construction projects in their respective regions of the country. And eTech has been working well with both of them for the past several years. Alex Turner is Executive Vice President of East Supply, responsible for operations, sales, and building strategic partnerships. While Samantha Peterson is the Chief Operating Officer of West Supply, she oversees all operations, logistics, and optimization of supply chain activities. Brianna has chat marketing reach out to both Alex's and Samantha's administrative agents to arrange a joint meeting. Now, in that meeting, Brianna describes the opportunity with Dream Developments. Samantha and Alex are both excited, but understandably want to know about the pricing. Brianna explains that the price she's quoted to get Dream Development's business is the same price which eTech usually charges to East Supply and West Supply for resale of those same controllers. Brianna then requests chat marketing to present a special pricing agreement that would ensure fair distribution of the resulting gross margin among eTech, East Supply, and West Supply. This would entail a significant rebate for all products sold to Dream Developments through the two distributors. Samantha and Alex agree that the resulting new business margins are fair and accept the deal. With an agreement on the pricing structure then, the three principals approve it via voice print, and the agreement is implemented through a series of blockchain-based smart contracts, putting it into effect immediately. So what is going to make this level of extraordinary innovation in marketing, sales, partnerships, and rebate management come into effect? Well, a host of emerging technologies are coming into play, all of which affect manufacturers, distributors, retailers, contractors, and so forth, from autonomous robotics to augmented and virtual reality, additive manufacturing or 3D printing, Internet of Things. But perhaps foremost among these technologies at the moment are blockchain and artificial intelligence. And AI will perhaps have the greatest impact. Although, as you'll see, the two work hand in hand. All of them interact with one another. ChatGPT is a prime example of how quickly things are going to be changing. In my 40 years of working with AI, I have never experienced anything like the explosion in awareness of and interest in artificial intelligence as with ChatGPT's release. AI, including ChatGPT, will significantly contribute to the transformation of business in the near future. But there are many kinds of AI, and it's important that you understand this and understand the distinctions. You don't have to be a technical expert in implementing all of these tools, but you need to understand what they are and what they do. Natural language processing enables computers to understand and generate human language. Speech recognition, which 40 years ago was considered an unattainable future form of AI, is often not even recognized today by most people as, well, that's not artificial intelligence, that's just speech recognition. Well, it does require intelligent capabilities to do the speech recognition that we now all use on a daily basis. Predictive analytics, about which you heard a lot in your last session, using statistical algorithms to make predictions based on historical data. Robotic process automation, about which a little more in a few minutes. Machine learning lets computers learn from experience using algorithms and statistical models, and then deep learning is an advanced form of machine learning that leverages neural networks, which replicate the way brains work, to enable computers to learn from huge amounts of data. And finally, there are autonomous systems. AI-powered systems typically integrating multiple different forms of AI that can operate and make decisions on their own, such as self-driving cars or drones or intelligent procurement systems. So what is robotic process automation? Well, it's an earlier, simpler form of AI that's been around for a while, but just beginning to be widely used, and it's a powerful and important tool for increasing the productivity of clerical and administrative staff. Let me back up a section. We're missing the audio.
What exactly is robotic process automation? Robotic process automation, RPA, is the use of software with artificial intelligence and machine learning capabilities to handle high-volume repetitive tasks that previously required humans to perform. Some of these tasks include addressing queries, making calculations, maintenance of records, and performing transactions.
Now at the other end, in terms of perhaps the most recent widely known form of AI is ChatGPT, or more broadly, generative AI, which uses natural language processing to analyze large amounts of data to create human-like responses to prompts or inputs. It uses the deep learning neural networks modeled after the human brain structure to process that input. The quality of its output, though, does depend on the quality and the amount of data used to train neural networks and the complexity of the task it's given. And it can make errors. It's important to understand this. Working with ChatGPT, and let me ask, how many people here have used ChatGPT? Raise your hand if you've used it. All right, looks like about 75 or 80%. That's great. I shouldn't be surprised in such a technically aware group as this. How many of you consider yourselves relatively expert at using it? Raise your hands. Don't be shy. How many of you think it's important enough that you're paying $20 a month for a subscription to it? Okay, a handful of you. All right. Recent studies indicate, recent meaning within the last several weeks or so, that of the people who've heard of ChatGPT, which is most business people at any rate, I would expect, only 14% have actually ever even used it or interacted with it. So there's a huge educational opportunity out there. So it's important to understand, if you've worked with it, you've seen this. It can make mistakes, but most of what it does, it gets right. So one of the keys to using it effectively is to understand, watch for those kinds of errors, and learn how to do prompts in such a way that you can avoid the errors or work around them as you for the strengths from it. It's got the potential to revolutionize every single industry in the public and private sector. But there are numerous other types of AI out there that we don't have time to talk about in any length, but everything from computer vision to associative memories and pattern recognition. Particularly important are knowledge-based systems and expert systems. They can help you develop intelligent agent technology using tools like big data, natural language processing, associative memory for pattern recognition, robotic process automation, and forms of machine learning and deep learning. You can develop knowledge-based expert systems that can replicate the thought processes of people who are experts in their field and make decisions, and where authorized, even take actions on behalf of people or organizations that have authorized them to do so. And do it in such a way that it's as if you had the best experts, only they had access to millions of times more data and could think thousands of times faster than any human could ever think. And by feeding the results of their decisions and the outcomes back into their decision criteria, can continually get smarter and make better decisions and take more effective actions on behalf of the people or organization that they're working for. Now, one of the challenges in business for a long time has been that the best decisions, the best actions have typically been done by a small percentage of the very best people in the organization. The 80-20 rule holds true here. It's a 20% of the top salespeople typically produce 80% of the sales. 20% of the best procurement people make 80% of the best deals. And you could go through most of the business, and most of you would agree, wouldn't it be wonderful if you could somehow take the knowledge and expertise of those top 15 or 20% of your people and apply it to the other 70 or 80% of your people who don't yet have that level of experience and knowledge. The problem is you can't take the best people off of doing their job on a daily basis in order to try to train the others. But with intelligent agent technologies, the intelligent agents can mimic the expertise of the best people, and by working with those people who are currently less experienced, while still allowing for human oversight of the processes, at the same time coach and mentor those people about, are you sure that's the right decision? Because here's a likely outcome from that decision. Oh, yeah, that's just right. Just as many of you might do the same with a junior new hire or intern that you have working with you and coaching them through how to do that same process. And at the same time, these tools can help even the most advanced experts in their field do their job better by handling the routine number crunching and data gathering processes so that they can focus that expertise on the knowledge and experience and judgment that they can bring to bear after having spent many years doing their jobs. The end result is we're going to be seeing AIs that are so clever that they can do everything, for example, from scheduling production based on maximum machine performance to forecasting and optimizing material inventories, monitoring performance data, utilizing machine learning for predictive maintenance, for automated procurement through the blockchain, coordinating deliveries, assigning the best repair technicians to either internal or external jobs that needed to be done, walking junior technicians through via augmented and virtual reality to be able to identify how they need to make repairs and corrections, communicating with customers about when projects are completed, and even predicting product line sales trends that have not yet been recognized by people who don't have time to continuously monitor all of the data that is now becoming available to us. Now, one of the challenges some of your organizations may have, and many do have, is buy-in to the notion of AI. Well, isn't AI going to come take away all of our jobs? How do you get people to support AI if they think that, well, if I work on this great project, my reward is going to be to get fired? Here's the good news about it. The good news is that AI will not replace business decision makers at any level. The bad news, for some of you anyway, is that business decision makers at every level who understand how to use AI tools and technologies will replace those who don't. Oh, and by extension, that also means that those businesses, including your competitors, who understand how to use AI-enabled tools and technologies, will replace those who don't. Now, the second technology I want to talk about is blockchain. And it's really important to make the distinction between Bitcoin and blockchain. Bitcoin, and more broadly cryptocurrencies as a whole, are simply one small subset of thousands of potential applications of blockchain technology. Some people think Bitcoin and cryptocurrency are all you can do with blockchain. They're not even the tip of the iceberg. Blockchains allow you to do 4 key things that you couldn't do before. First, they enable the creation of signed, time-stamped records that are permanent and immutable, cannot be changed. These can be records of identities, ownership, transactions, and contractual commitments. Second, these records can be shared among authorized parties without needing a trusted third-party intermediary. Third, these authorized parties can access and update this information globally with ease. And fourth, blockchains provide robust security against unauthorized access or updates. They are essentially unhackable. Now, of course, ultimately, any computer can be hacked, so blockchains don't store their data on any computer. They store it on mini computers. Blockchains store identical copies of data on multiple nodes, dozens, hundreds, or thousands of nodes across the internet. Their advanced technologies ensure that any attempt to hack even a single node would be immediately recognized and the information on that node ignored until resynchronization. As a result, successfully hacking a blockchain is nearly impossible, as attackers would need to simultaneously hack a majority of the nodes and make identical changes to each prior to resynchronization, which can be anywhere from as long as 10 minutes to as short as a fraction of a second. A few years ago, a Harvard physics professor estimated that the amount of energy that would be needed to drive the computing power that would be required to hack a majority of the Bitcoin blockchain's 7,000 nodes in less than the 10 minutes between resynchronizations is roughly equal to the amount of energy emitted during that same period of time by the sun. Now, I can see there's a couple people out there thinking, so you could do it then. Well, yes, while it is theoretically possible, hacking a properly implemented blockchain is virtually impossible. And that's where a lot of the power is. Blockchain technology also enables the storage of smart contracts. These are self-executing contracts written in code that automatically enforce agreement terms. A smart contract can track incoming information and, based on that incoming information, generate outgoing transactions and outgoing information. For example, a customer places a purchase order with a supplier via the blockchain. Upon product receipt, the smart contract automatically transfers funds in payment. This eliminates the need for invoices and for payment orders and reduces costs by eliminating reconciliation efforts. Unlike in traditional business environments where organizations each keep their own records because they don't trust their trading partners' record keeping, in a blockchain-based system, organizations access a shared pool of data. They can trust the accuracy and legitimacy of the transaction data without having to trust their trading partners' record-keeping capabilities. Trusting the data means trusting the system, not necessarily the trading partner. So what we're going to be seeing is that with Web3, blockchain, and AI-enabled self-configuring business ecosystems, businesses will be able to find and engage existing and even new trading partners in real time, whether either they or their prospective trading partner is a manufacturer, a distributor, a retailer, a logistics provider, or plays any other role in the ecosystem. So the end game of all of this is we're going to see a movement toward total process automation, where no human involvement will be necessary in routine operational processes, unless exceptions take place that require human intervention to resolve. Automated value creation, where machines can find information and make decisions and take actions that can create savings and generate value opportunities without requiring human input, but can still be managed and supervised by people. Full spend transparency, where all spending is transparent, summarized without errors or faults. And we have agile, self-managing, self-monitoring, self-expanding business ecosystems. Businesses will work together across the ecosystem to solve problems. Going forward then with our earlier near future scenario, E-Tech, East Supply, West Supply, and Dream Developments are all embracing such emerging technologies as AI, blockchain, and Internet of Things to optimize their operations. These technologies enable real-time monitoring, efficient dispute resolution, predictive maintenance, supply chain optimization, traceability, intelligent inventory management, and enhanced customer service. Utilizing IoT sensors, East and West Supply continuously monitor the movement and condition of goods within their supply chains. AI algorithms analyze the data for potential problems, and notifications are sent to the relevant stakeholders anytime an issue needs to be addressed. Smart contract can help resolve disputes by the fact that they hold immutable records of the agreed terms and conditions, which provide transparency and can prevent many disputes in advance, with AI algorithms then to be able to be used to analyze the relevant data and provide recommendations for fair resolution if there are disputes, notwithstanding the existence of the smart contracts to begin with. Supply chain optimization by leveraging AI technologies to analyze the vast amounts of data that are available, especially as we see much broader implementation of Internet of Things technologies, will automate inventory management, production scheduling, and transportation logistics in order to optimize those and provide recommendations for continuous enhancements to existing business processes and systems for proactive decision making. Blockchain technology ensures end-to-end traceability, with everything going all the way back to the extractive industries, tracked and reported permanently and immutably on a blockchain. You can track every individual item's journey through the supply chain and record all the transactions in that immutable ledger, and integrated with AI can help to verify product authenticity and ensure that people are complying with their commitments to sustainability and to proper, effective, legitimate sourcing of all their parts and materials. Tremendous opportunities for enhanced customer service with AI-powered chatbots, handling customer inquiries and requests far more efficiently and quickly, and allowing computer interactions to be recorded so that on the blockchain, permanently available for seamless communication across different touch points. So if we explore for a moment how the combination of these technologies could help resolve unanticipated operational challenges that might arise during daily operations. One day, a shipment of E-Tech products is delayed due to bad weather. The IoT sensors on the shipping container detect the delay and transmit the information to, in this case, East Supply's AI system. The AI system automatically adjusts the delivery schedule and notifies all the parties of the delay, ensuring that the customers are informed and the impact on the supply chain is minimized. As the shipment is being delivered, the blockchain records all the relevant data, including delivery times, the condition of the products, and the performance of all of the supply chain partners. The smart contract then automatically calculates the rebates owed to each partner based on their performance and distributes the funds accordingly. In the end, the combination of blockchain, AI, and Internet of Things has enabled East Supply in this particular case, and Dream Developments to optimize their supply chain, improve performance, and create value for all the supply chain partners. By ensuring that that added value is fairly shared, the partnership has become even stronger, with all the parties committed to working together to improve their joint supply chain in the future. Now, all of this is part of your need to drive your organizations to digital transformation. And it's important to understand that digital transformation, though, is not about force-fitting these new technologies into your existing business. It's not about saying, well, where can we use ChatGPT? Where can we force blockchain in here? It's certainly not about paving the cow paths, simply taking your existing processes and systems, slapping this technology on the outside, and enshrining them in concrete. The idea is not to use technology to make your current processes marginally more efficient. It's about reimagining how you do business and understanding the capabilities of these technologies to help you think about new ways that you could manage your business model, even your overall ecosystem, and then use those technologies as necessary to help implement those new visions of the future. With digital transformation, you need to discern not only is the technology ready for you to use it, but are you ready for the technology? Change management is at least as important, if not more important, than technical implementation. And even none of this matters unless you have a broader innovative planning process for anticipating and managing strategic disruptions. And in the last few years, we've seen more than our fair share of strategic disruptions, from pandemics to the impacts of climate change, which we're seeing over most of the northeastern United States today, to political disruptions like the war in Ukraine, to emerging technologies themselves, like generative AI. How do you plan for these disruptive capabilities? Well, one of the things that's very important to think about is to look at both the likelihood of something occurring that could be strategically disruptive and the potential impact of that item, the severity, if it were to occur, on your business. Now, if something is not very likely to happen, but if it were to happen, wouldn't have a particularly strong impact on your business, well, that's obviously not a very high priority. You know, maybe you get around to it someday, but don't worry about it too much right now. On the other hand, if it's very apparent that something is likely to happen, is about to happen, is started happening, and it's going to have a huge impact on our business, a situation we were all in 3 years ago this spring, well, obviously we have to deal with that. Those are easy decisions. Where businesses make too many mistakes is they focus way too much time and attention on those things that are quite likely to happen, but if they do happen, aren't really going to be strategically disruptive. Oh, what are we going to do if a new competitor moves into our market space? A new competitor moving into your market space is not a strategic disruption. It's called being in business. If you're in a market space worth being in, competitors are going to be coming. It should be something you should be planning as part of your routine operations of your business. But far too little attention is paid to those things which may not be very likely to happen, but boy, if they do, could be really disruptive to you. I spoke at a virtual conference 3 years ago this summer, and one of the other speakers there that I was interacting with told me about a survey he had done of 100 different organizations in Europe, and he asked them all, what, coming into this year of 2020 at the time, what did you have in your strategic plan about the potential response that you should have to the possibility of a global pandemic? 99 of the 100 said, we didn't have a single thing. We didn't know what to do. When this thing hit, we had to start absolutely from scratch trying to figure out, now what do we do? The one exception was NATO, the military. Their response was, well, of course we knew it wasn't very likely, but of course we had a strategic plan for the possibility of a pandemic. And as it became apparent that it was actually happening, all we did was go into our strategic planning processes and flip the switches to say we are now operating under the conditions of an emerging global pandemic, adjust our plans, tweak our near-term goals appropriately, and move on with our strategic objectives well in place. And that's the way we all need to think about planning in the future. It starts with dynamic transformational planning, meaning that you understand your goals. How do you leverage your core competencies, your resources, your capabilities to address changing needs of your customers at the same time that you address current and potential strategic threats and disruptions? Now, to achieve any goal, you have to have a plan. And consequently, you can have more than one plan for a goal. That's the important thing. The old saying, there's more than one way to skin a cat. The idea isn't to come up with the strategic plan, it's to come up with a combination of possible plans, the best one of which is used at any particular time to achieve a set of goals that you have in mind. So think about it this way. If your goal is to drive home from work at the end of the day, and one plan is to take the expressway, another plan B could be take surface streets. Now, each plan would have its own advantages and disadvantages. It's typically faster to take the expressway. If we have to run an errand on the way home, it might be more convenient to go by surface streets. But you could also choose to switch plans. So you get on the expressway and you find out, oops, there's an accident up ahead. I better get off at the next exit while I still can, rather than sit here stuck in traffic half a mile away from a further exit down the road for 45 minutes while they clear things out. It might be slower on the surface streets, but I won't be stuck for so long. We need to go through the same kind of planning process in our strategic planning. That means we need to continually monitor our environment, just as we use tools like Waze or Google Maps to help us monitor our traffic environment. And we want to monitor for strategic disruptions, evolving technologies, and emerging business opportunities. Even if they're not currently happening, watch for the possibilities that these might happen. And by monitoring, it's important. It's not simply about passively observing. Oh, look at what's happening in that part of the industry over there. Wow, isn't that interesting? Okay, back to business as usual. It's about proactively identifying, defining, and seeking trigger points or inflection points. All right, what are we watching for? What is the thing that's the trigger that says it's time to start executing this plan to pursue this goal? Or what's the inflection point at which we say, you know what, something's changed enough in the environment here, we need to switch from plan A to plan B, or from plan B to plan C in achieving this other goal. The end result of being able to do that is to be able to think long term. So you can set strategic goals that look out 3 to 5 years or more, beyond the near-term horizons that have resource limitations like short-term budgets and staffing capabilities and so forth. So you can think strategically, and yet you have the flexibility with planning in the short and intermediate term where you can shift plans dynamically to accomplish those goals and allow you to address both anticipated and unanticipated strategic contingencies, opportunities, threats, and disruptions. It's a huge amount of change in how we work and how we think. Famed historian Henry Steele Commager wrote over 100 years ago that change does not necessarily assure progress, but progress implacably requires change. You're going to need to be able to change your mindsets, your people's mindsets, your executives' mindsets, You're going to need to be able to change your business processes, to change your business model, even work with tools like AI and blockchain to change the ways that your business ecosystems work. Now, exactly when and how you'll be able to fully AI enable and blockchain enable your supply chain is a question for Andrew and his very capable team. But if I were in your shoes, I'd want to make certain to be on board and ready to take full advantage of those capabilities as they become available. It's going to be a very exciting ride. Thank you for listening. Okay, we have time to take a few questions. So who's got the first question? All right, I've heard it's not a shy group. Come on. All right. Right.
As you've been talking, another thing I thought about was, the internet, when it arrived, reduced barriers to entry.
The internet was?
Reduced barriers to entry, generally.
Yes, the internet reduced barriers to entry, that's true.
The risk that because of the technology progression that you're going to need to have with AI and blockchain, that it could actually make more barriers to entry, so it goes the other way. Is that something that's ever been discussed in your circuit?
Well, that's an interesting idea. So what this gentleman is suggesting is, would AI and blockchain increase barriers to entry as opposed to reduce barriers to entry as the internet did? I would tend to say, in the case of blockchain, because blockchain is implemented across business ecosystems, if you're smart, and by you I mean all the participants, entities, businesses within a particular ecosystem and supply chain, they will want to develop it in such a way, implement it in such a way, so that they can easily find alternative new customers, new suppliers, new other participants like logistics providers and so forth. Certainly it would be plausible that people in a given ecosystem might say, let's just build this thing so it works great for those of us who are already here in this ecosystem and put walls around the outside to keep others in. Now, depending on how powerful and influential they are in that particular market or set of markets that they're in, they may or may not be more successful, because it will tend, if they're not allowing new entrants in or making it very difficult, it will ultimately tend to make all of them less competitive in the market as a whole. They may be supplanted by others coming from the outside. So it would be a risky strategic decision that might pay off for a while, but on the other hand might be very disruptive to them and self-inflicted in the long term. AI, on the other hand, I do think will tend to reduce barriers to entry regardless. I read an interesting article the other day about how they expected that within the next 5 years, we would see the first billion-dollar corporate valuation of a company with a grand total of 3 employees. Now, obviously, dealing with a lot of external partners to deliver whatever products and services they were delivering, but that a team of 3, leveraging the power of AI, could put together all of the components that would be necessary if they were creative enough, clever enough, worked hard at it enough to come up with an idea that could have a unicorn, as they say, worth $1 billion. Don't know if that'll happen, but it's certainly an intriguing idea to think about. And certainly the potential of this kind of, it certainly would be a strategic disruption to a marketplace at any rate, if you had a group saying, let's figure out how to only let those of us who are already in stay in and participate. So, excellent question. The kind of thing you need to be looking at and monitoring out there. Very good. Next question. We've got time for one more. All right, yes, sir, in front.
Blockchain currently requires a large amount of computing power to process transactions. And with some evidence that Moore's law may be slowing down, do we see that as sort of an immediate future, or is this something that's still like 30 years out?
Blockchain requires a lot of computing power to process transactions, and with Moore's law showing slowing down, yeah, is that going to make blockchain impractical to use? Well, two things are going on. One is, in my experience, I've been hearing for at least 40 years that we're now at the end of Moore's law. And it keeps changing. And I think, for example, quantum computing is likely to help transcend any of the near term. And within probably the next 5 to 10 years, we'll begin to see viable quantum computing coming into place. And that's going to transcend a lot of the limitations of Moore's law for quite a while. All right. At the same time, we also have to have quantum-enabled cybersecurity, including for blockchains. And people are already working on how to do that, even though the quantum computing isn't here yet. So that's a good sign. The other thing that's going on with blockchain is, yes, the Bitcoin blockchain uses roughly as much power as the country of Sweden. And so we've already seen the second biggest blockchain in the world, Ethereum, switch over to proof of stake. And they've already demonstrated in the not quite a year, 9 months now since they made the switch over, that proof of stake processes transactions just as reliably, just as consistently, just as securely, with 1/2000th the amount of energy consumption that the Bitcoin blockchain uses. So I think that seeing blockchain, more broadly distributed ledger technologies, utilized to help solve some business problems that they are in many ways uniquely capable of solving, especially when integrated with tools like AI and Internet of Things, is something that is going to be emerging and is going to move toward those platforms that leverage these new approaches and ultimately new computing technologies. And I think it will be an important piece of a much bigger puzzle in helping us solve a lot of business problems. It has been a pleasure to chat here today with you guys, no pun intended on chat. And I will be at the cocktail reception later, and I would enjoy chatting with any one of you one-on-one if you'd like to talk then. Sir, thank you so much.
Hi, Jack. Thank you so much.